Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands, and as we get towards this time of year I thought I would go through every single Christmas horror movie in my collection. So I'm not too sure how many more videos I'll do this side of Christmas, so I'll just take this time to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and to say thank you so much for watching my videos in 2021. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned for more videos in 2022. So, Christmas horror movies, I don't actually have that many. I remember saying this last year, and I did pick up a few more since last year, but I only think about it at Christmas time, and by then it's too late. And then it just seems weird to pick up Christmas films the rest of the year, but I have a few, so we'll go through them, and I'll let you know what I think of them. I think this is all of them, but knowing my memory, I might have left one or two back on the shelves, but these are the main ones that I like, my go-to Christmas horror films. So the first one is All the Creatures Were Stirring, which is an anthology film. It has very much kind of like an indie feel to it, kind of a bit low budget, but I thought this was pretty good. It's got some pretty cool and pretty interesting segments to it. I really like the one, there's like a Secret Santa one with like this office party and they gather around this table and there's all these presents, but it's like a weird Russian roulette game where some of the presents kill people, like they're rigged to explode or shoot people in the face or something like that, so they have to open these presents hoping that they don't open a killer present essentially. That one was a really cool one, and I think there's a killer reindeer in this and a few other things as well. It's a cool Christmas horror anthology. So that's that one. Next up is ATM, which is these three friends. They're just leaving a Christmas office party and they're driving along and they stop at a ATM, which is like inside this booth kind of thing. And when they're inside, they are then kind of stalked by a hooded figure on the outside that like plays a cat and mouse game with them. So it's all kind of like wintry and snowy as well. So it's got a very kind of wintry feel. I think it might be set on Christmas Eve or around Christmas time, and it's really good. It's a really good, like, quite sort of taut, tense thriller, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. So I liked it in a number of places for kind of the way it kept you hooked and kept you intrigued and the suspense. But for me, this was kind of let down a bit by the characters doing like really stupid things. And I think, if I remember right, there was a number of times when they had the opportunity to run out of this booth and easily get away to the car, and they didn't, and that kind of annoyed me on a few occasions. So that got to me a little bit. But it's not too bad. It's got some pretty decent, tense moments. So that's that one. Okay, next up is the classic Black Christmas. I've not seen this one for a few years now, but this is a really, really good film with these women. They get like these obscene phone calls from somebody, and then they start to get killed off. Really cool movie. John Saxon's in it. Highly recommended. One of the best Christmas horror films you'll find, and a slasher film that predates Halloween as well, which is pretty cool. Okay, next up is Christmas Evil. This one, I really want to watch this one again. I haven't seen it for years, and I'd really like to check it out. I might do so in the next couple of days. But this is this guy who absolutely loves Christmas. He loves Santa Claus. He dresses up as Santa Claus. And I think he might get fired from his job working in like a toy factory or something, and it just sends him over the edge, and he goes around killing people, and it has a crazy ending, which I won't give away, but it's like a really, really weird ending. So yeah, this is one that I'd like to revisit. I didn't think it was great the first time I watched it, but that was years ago, and I've heard people say this one does improve on sort of repeated viewings. So yeah, I'm sure I'll check this one out again over Christmas. But yeah, let me know what you think of Christmas Evil. Okay, next up is Day of the Beast. This is set on Christmas Eve, and this follows a priest and this other guy, this heavy metal fan, who are running around trying to stop the apocalypse and trying to stop Satan taking over the world. So this is it's a great movie for what it is. It's pretty low on horror, which I thought was quite surprising. It's more of like a comedy caper with this priest. He's running around, he's getting into like these sort of comedic situations, that kind of thing. It's a little bit zany, and then there's a bit of like this apocalyptic horror thrown in at the end. But it wasn't what I was expecting at all. I was expecting quite a ominous religious horror film rather than this like wacky comedy. But as that kind of film, it works really well, and it's very entertaining, very fast paced, pretty funny in places, great performances from the people involved. It is subtitled, so I don't know if that will put people off, but it's definitely an interesting movie. And like I say, it takes place on Christmas Eve, so there's a lot of Christmassy stuff going along, a lot of Christmas celebrations going on in the background and that kind of thing. So pretty nice Christmas atmosphere as that one plays out. Okay, next up is Fright Vision, which is a recent anthology from Wild Eye. It's not entirely a Christmas film. There's just one segment in this. I think it's the last segment, which involves a killer Santa Claus, and that was pretty cool, so I just thought I'd include that one. Alright, next up is a favourite of mine, and I'm sure a lot of other people's as well. Gremlins. I probably don't need to talk too much about this. This movie is awesome. Mogwai, who was really cute, he gets wet, and as we all know, and then sprouts the evil, more gnarly gremlins that come out of him. Really cool film. I love Gremlins. Very, very fun, timeless classic. So I'm sure I'll be revisiting this one over Christmas. Okay, this next one, I would never have thought to put this one on the list, but I just watched Sarah of Horror's Christmas movie collection, and she included this one, and she quite rightly pointed out that it does take place on, I think it's Christmas Eve, or certainly around Christmas. And this is Inside, which is one of the French extreme horror films, maybe the best one in my opinion. I really, really liked this movie. This is pretty non-stop as well. So, like I say, it takes place in or around Christmas Eve, and there's this heavily pregnant woman. Her husband died a few months ago in a car crash, and it's like a home invasion film, and she is home invaded by this woman who doesn't say a lot, if I remember right, but she wants her baby, and she wants to kill her and get to her baby and things like that. But it's really brutal stuff. Very, very suspenseful, keeps you on the edge of your seat, and is pretty brutal throughout the film. It's really good. So if you're into your French extreme horrors, this is a given. You've got to check out Inside. It's one of the very best. But if you just want to see a really good film and you're okay with kind of more extreme, brutal content, Inside is a top recommendation from me, from Horror Hands. So yeah, I included that one on the list after Sarah reminded me that it was a Christmas film. Next up is another favourite of mine, Jack Frost. I'll definitely be watching this one at some point over Christmas. This is such a fun film about a killer snowman. It's a guy on death row, and he's being transported in this truck to the electric chair or whatever, and they have a collision, and he's thrown out of the truck, and he gets mixed up in a mix of snow and like toxic waste or something, which turns him into a killer snowman, and it's just fantastic, and it's so fun. It's got some great effects. The snowman looks really cool, and I've said this before, but to my knowledge, I think it's the only killer snowman film in existence other than Jack Frost 2. I can't think of another killer snowman film. If there is one, please let me know. I will definitely check it out. And this is getting I missed the Vinegar Syndrome release of this, but this and Jack Frost 2 are being released later this month by MVD. So I'm probably going to pick them up actually, because I don't have Jack Frost 2, so I'll get them both later this month. But yeah, Jack Frost is awesome. If you want a silly Christmas horror film, yeah, definitely check out Jack Frost. Next up is Krampus. This one was okay. There's things I liked about it, and then there's things that I thought could have been much better. I actually really like the non-horror aspects of Krampus. So I really like kind of early on in the film when the family all get together and half the family don't like each other, and there's this kind of comedic family dynamic where they're all at each other's throats and not getting along. And it kind of had a bit of like a Home Alone vibe to it, which I really liked. And then the horror aspect, I thought that was good. There's some pretty cool creatures in it, like the killer teddy bear and the killer gingerbread men and things like that. I just wanted a little bit more from it, but it's certainly got some cool things and some pretty crazy creatures and things going on in this one, and some pretty good, a good mix of like comedy actors and like Toni Collette. She's in this. She's always fantastic. So yeah, it's okay. I consider this one an okay Christmas film. Okay, next up is a seldom talked about anthology called Night Terrors. And a little bit like Fright Vision, this isn't a Christmas film entirely. It just features a segment with a killer going around in a Santa Claus suit, which I thought was pretty cool. So just thought I'd include this one. And like I say, no one ever talks about this film, so give it a bit of coverage there. So that one. So next up we have Saint, which I believe is from Norway. I think it's directed by Dick Mars, who's a director that I really like, and this one's a really good film as well. So this is like based on the sort of the traditional Santa Claus legend, but instead of sort of jolly old Santa Claus, it's this this demon creature here that goes around killing people. It's a really good film. I actually went to the pictures to see this, and I can't remember where I saw it. I wish I could remember, because it's not really the kind of film that mainstream cinemas would put on. But yeah, I remember seeing it on the big screen and having a really good time and thinking it was a great film. It's another one I'd like to revisit, because it's been a while since I've seen this one. But yeah, Saint is another one that I can definitely recommend. Okay, next up is Santa's Sleigh. Killer Santa Claus, played by Bill Goldberg from WCW. This film's crazy. It's so crazy. It's so silly. It's a little bit in the same vein as Jack Frost, but Jack Frost is way more enjoyable than this. It's not a great film. I can't say that at all. It's pretty bad, but at the same time, I couldn't help but be somewhat entertained by a screaming Bill Goldberg running around in a Santa suit, punching people and killing people and things like that. So yeah, not one that's all that high on my recommendations, but like I say, if you do want to see a really silly one, or if like me you're intrigued to see Goldberg play a killer Santa Claus, then maybe check it out when you get round to it. That's that one. Okay, next up is Silent Night. This is not one that I liked. This is another sort of killer Santa Claus going round. I watched it when it first came out and didn't like it. And then as a few years went by, and I picked it up on Blu-ray to give it another chance to see if I liked it anymore, and I didn't like it again. So this is not one that I enjoyed, or one that I would recommend, unfortunately. Okay, next up is a really good one, a very underrated film as well, and that is Silent Night, Bloody Night. And this is about like this sort of big ancestral house. It's in the middle of nowhere, and I think it comes up for sale, or it comes up for auction, and I think someone might buy it, but there's somebody in or around the house that's killing people off, and it takes place in the dead of winter. And it's a pretty low budget film. It's kind of grainy, it doesn't look great, but it kind of adds to the real kind of cold, sort of downbeat feel of this film. It's got a really good atmosphere, and it's it's another one that utilises its cold, kind of miserable, wintry setting really well. But it's one that I didn't really have any expectations from it, but I thought was really good. And it's got some pretty decent kills in it. It's a little bit plodding, but it kind of adds to the kind of film that it is. So if you want to see a little bit more of an obscure, kind of slow burn, somewhat dreary film, but in a good way, then maybe think about checking out Silent Night, Bloody Night. It's a pretty good one, and I've got a feeling John Carradine's in this. Yeah, John Carradine's in this as well, which is cool. And then we have the infamous Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's been years and years since I've seen this. I think I've only seen it the once, and I thought it was okay. This was the one that had hordes of concerned parent groups trying to get it removed from cinemas in the 80s. I think that's the reason why I watched it in the first place. I didn't think it was anything as extreme as what they were complaining about. It's a pretty standard kind of Christmas slasher. But it was pretty good. It delivered. It had some pretty good kills. I think this has got the impaled by antlers death scene in it, if I remember. But like I say, it's been such a long time since I've seen this one. I should revisit this one as well, just to see if I see what I think about it. But yeah, this is one of the more famous ones because of the controversy that it garnered in the 80s. I think people freaked out thinking that this image of Santa Claus going down the chimney with an axe would traumatise all the children, but whatever. But yeah, it's okay. And then I couldn't leave this one off the list. I'll give Tales from the Crypt a mention for the awesome Joan Collins and the killer Santa Claus segment in this one, when she kills her husband on Christmas Eve and tries to do away with the body, but at the same time an escaped mental patient is running around dressed in a Santa suit, and he puts a damper on a little scheme, shall we say. But it's a really good segment. I really like the one in the film, and I really like the one they did in season 1 of the Tales from the Crypt TV series as well. So that was really cool. And then the last one that I have, or at least I can remember, is Windchill, which is another really good film. This one took me a long time to get round to watching because I just didn't really feel like watching it, but it's really good. And it stars Emily Blunt, who's driving home for the Christmas holidays, and she's driving through sort of this really dark, snowy, miserable weather. She breaks down, and then she's kind of stalked and haunted by this like ghostly creature on the road. It's really, really good. It's pretty tense. It's got some good scary moments, great Christmassy cold atmosphere to it as well, and a film that I was pleasantly surprised by how good it was. So that's, I think, everything that I've got, guys. All the Christmas horror movies that I own in the collection. Let me know what you think of these. Let me know which ones you liked, which ones you didn't like, and let me know which Christmas horror films you think I should pick up for next year. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.